That's good. I like that.
Let me ask you about home in America, since you bring that up. I'm curious how that kind of married. So you're saying that you received the spoken words, that piece, and then you put the music to it.
You know, I wanted to take this a step further and get an MC, right?
All right.
I knew I wanted like a legendary cat who's older, who's been around, you know, who has got something to say, and
Hence Master Ace.
Master Ace. I had a long list and very happy with my choice of Master Ace.
Oh, beautiful choice. Sounds fantastic.
Got no arguments for me as soon as you said Master Ace.
Well, you know, great, you know, because I knew that, you know, I'm a member of APS, but APS is Amon's baby, so I knew it had to be something he could be feeling also. Anyway, we settled on Master Ace. He was into it.
Yeah.
Because I'd said so little to the band on the original recordings, I decided to employ that same technique with Master Ace. And the first thing he came back with was a dope relationship song that was not really APS. So I was like, okay, I got to call up Master Ace now and tell him another song.
That's a tough phone call. I mean,
tough phone call. It was a Zoom. It was a Zoom call. I did it face to face.
Okay.
He's totally pro. He listened, you know, and then we talked about what I really wanted. You know, I'm like, first of all, I mentioned the Far Side. You know, we want to kick something that means something.
Yeah.
You referenced another one of his tracks too, right?
Well, after that, I knew like the easiest way to communicate with another musician is through reference recordings. I find that more and more. I'm like, instead of you trying to describe music to me, just give me a recording that is doing what you want and tell me about it.
Yeah.
So I decided to do that with Master Ace. I went back and listened to A Brooklyn Story, which is his record with Marco Polo from a couple of years ago. That's great and actually much more.
Y'all should check it out.
Much more political than a lot of his previous work, which was good because I wanted to find someone who was going to delve into those issues. So I picked 4 songs off of that record, and I was like, I really wanted to be like something like one of these songs. And American Me, I believe, was the one that he connected to when I said that. And then basically I said, look, I want something that's anti-racist, that's going to be dealing with the issues of our times, especially racial issues. And I want it to be something that I can play for my kids. That's literally all I said.
So there was a language threshold you had there too.
Yeah. I wanted to be this universal and,
which is great,
you know,
honestly,
anthemic, really. So, you know,
anthemic. Nice.
You know, my kids listen to a lot of like Pete Rock now and I KRS and stuff. So like, you know, I'm losing the language battle for sure.
I never tried.
I've been trying and I'm losing, but you know, still, let's keep it as universal. That's all I told him.
All right.
And he came back with the first 2 verses and the chorus and the hook, and my jaw just dropped to the floor. It's just like,
it's so good.
No, it dropped the first time I heard it, and then the more I listened to it, the more I was understanding I'm still understanding what he's saying.
Yeah.
And
his delivery was really great too. I would say.
We just used the demo. We never recut their vocal.
Yeah.
So did you give him Starry Night or the whole album and say, this is kind of the sound palette we want you to work within?
I sent him my 5 tracks. I said, pick whichever one you want.
All right.
He connected to that one, so we picked it. And then I made him like a longer beat reel version of it with just the beat going on longer and longer, so he can just
nice. So he could use that.
And once he had those 2 verses, then I tailored it around the track. Then I knew like that was going to be the bridge with Donnie's solo there. I think later on we added the little saxophone in between the first 2 verses. And then I'm like, man, I'm thinking about it. He's talking about, I want to go home. And I'm like, what is home? What does that mean? That's what the song's about. And I was like, we need another like half verse or something to tie it together. And that's when he wrote that half verse, which was also great. And then we were done.
So then there was sort of a circular influence going on. He did his lyrics and you listened to that, and then you started amending and changing the sounds to go with that.
Yeah, true collaboration.
That's beautiful.
That's how it should be. in my mind, especially for hip hop, and that happens way too infrequently.
Nice. How did that film Chase come about? How did you guys get that going? That's a cool little piece. If anybody out there listening, you jump on YouTube and check out is it The Chase?
Chase.
Just Chase. Yeah. That's an interesting little film.
It's the film was done by Jude Gergen, who is an amazing photographer, graphic designer, and movie maker.
Go follow on Instagram.
His
right
Instagram
now.
page is ridiculous.
Oh,
It's Jugo, Jugoe
_Jogo.
_ Yeah,
He's fantastic.
He's ridiculous.
He's also done all of our covers.
Yeah, absolutely. From the beginning, all of the APS covers. That's all.
He did the. Oh, okay. He's the one that used the drone to make the Manhattan piece. Excellent.
Yes, and he is a drone master. I guess whatever, statute of limitations, whatever. We did that Chase. If we had done it by the books, would have cost us like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It looks very polished. Yeah.
Thank you. That was us running down Broadway during the pandemic.
Yeah, the streets are clear.
Ass crack of dawn.
Yeah.
It was super early. And I was driving the Chase vehicle. Like I was driving my car along with them.
You're the chaser.
Out the window. Yeah. I guess I'm the producer. He's the director, everything, whatever. I'm just
producer / stunt driver.
Stunt driver, straight up. It was his vision based off of conversations I had when I was making soundtrack for a non-existent film. I was seeing scenes. In fact, I'm a very visual, like imaginary. I see these scenes in my head.
Yeah. When
I'm mixing and I'm composing and I'm putting stuff together, they look like movies to me. And when I, wrote the bass line and like little breaks and stuff like that, I was envisioning originally like almost like a car chase, and one of those like typical like classic like cop show, like when the car like goes off a ramp and there's a part that they're like
Bullet.
Right, and then it comes back.
That's
down.
Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah, well, no,
yeah,
like Starsky and Hutch.
Yeah,
Starsky and that's smooth.
Technique.
Yeah. Exactly. So like, that's kind of what I was seeing in my brain, and I told Jude this, and he's like, "Yeah, we can't do any of that." but let's talk. And it was a collaboration, just like it was with Master Ace. Like we were talking about some ideas, and the chase aspect of this thing is I felt like, well, first off, to back up, this was done in the middle of the pandemic, and New York got hit really hard, and that's when I started chopping up my samples and putting this together, when this business was totally shut down by law. We couldn't do anything in here. So like I was coming in here to keep the maintenance going, make sure no leaks, and keep the board working and everything. I was like, I might as well try to do some work. But literally, like, from my door to this door, it was like a process. And I had a COVID scare. We were working right up to the line, doing some stuff for CBS in the morning, which was great. We did a whole bunch of performances, and right after that, I got what turned out to be like a sinus infection, like a really bad, sinus thing. And I was like, oh shit, I have COVID, and couldn't get tests because it was a crazy time. Yeah. So I was quarantining myself in the tiny little apartment that I have, and I had the windows open, and all I could hear out my window was constantly, like from like 7 p.m. through like 7 a.m. was sirens
Oh.
going back and the Doppler effect of those sirens. It was just eerie.
Oh.
No cars on the road, just
Yeah.
ambulances. And I was like, holy shit. And I'm a very sort of, I've said this before, you've heard me say this. Whenever I think the world is ending, I want to make sure that I reach for like an instrument, or I have an instrument or something else together, and so that I can make music if the world is ending. And my perspective is like, I want to create music so that when our society dies and alien archaeologists come and find us, then they're like, oh, look at all this like human expression, these records, because of course they're going to figure out how to use our technology. And
what if they're petroleum based?
They might eat the records, is what you're saying? Yeah. Shit.
Yeah, they melt. Hey, what instrument did you grab?
Yeah, I had like, I'm a percussionist.
Yeah.
So I have many like djembe in the house, but also gongoma.
Yeah.
Like a little, like a sort of like a kalimba, but huge. It's like this.
Marimba?
Not this.
It's like a big calabash with like four. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, man. So we made it, and so Chase kind of represents the feeling of what we were all going through. It's like we're all being, and it was also like there were, it was a time of like demanding social justice.
Yeah.
New York City, George Floyd.
Yep.
I could just keep on naming too many names. Like we've had enough. Like, the Black Lives Matter movement was important, and there were protests all over the city, and it was just it's the time that needed to be represented. So like the chase, we're all being chased by something.
Yes.
Or we're chasing something. So it doesn't have like a meaning
specifically.
I don't want to tell people what to grab out of it.
Right.
You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? Yeah.
So their running is both away and towards.
Yeah.
However you want to fill that in.
Yeah. I mean, there's also like a moment when they all like at the end of the film like catch their breath.
Yes.
And Jude and I talked about that moment a lot. That was one of Jude's notes as a director, and we talked about the meaning of it, and we wanted the actors and the characters to portray that this sucks. I'm out of breath. I've been running from racism, from inequality, or like death. Like
COVID.
All kinds of things coming after you. But fine, that's okay. Let me catch my breath. I can keep doing this. And I can keep running, and I can keep on going. Like, well, it's a kind of a New York strong riff a little bit, because
very New York. Yeah, there is that sense when people stop and look into the camera of a little bit of a relief. They kind of like they're taking a breath, but then it just goes right back to a guy running. How did you two end up working together or meet?
We met because of Will Page.
That's right.
Who is huge in the music scene, kind of worldwide. He was a Spotify executive for a while.
Wow.
Now he's a book author, and his intro into the music business was actually doing a little managing for my band Mudville, which was active
Mudville.
Back in the aughts.
We can say that.
Electronica trip hop kind of duo I had with Marilyn Carino, and Will was still working at the Bank of Scotland at the time or something,
which is crazy.
He had no intro in the music business, but he was writing for Straight No Chaser or something.
Exactly.
He wrote about Mudville, and anyway, fast forward, he invited me to I think it was your birthday party, wasn't it?
Was it here?
No, it was here. This place
Oh, yeah, it didn't exist.
dude.
Yeah, that's right.
It was I don't know, Lower East Side or something on Christmas
Oh, that's
Street,
right.
maybe.
Yeah, it was a birthday party at New Blue.
Anyway, we
Yeah.
hit it off, and Amon came and helped me build out my mix room, House of Cha Cha.
Mm-hmm.
And
Nice.
Yeah.
he salvaged a whole bunch of stuff from the Hook,
That's right.
his flooded out studio, which is now my back wall, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. That was when I was building this place.
When I
Yeah.
first came here, this was just a gray concrete box of literally nothing, just an empty concrete box.
You had the Hook. How long were you in the Hook?
The Hook itself was alive for just about 10 years. And I was there, I think 7 or 8 of it. And I was the owner for the last 4 years, 4 or 5. I had partners, but then I bought out my partners and basically and I did some renovations. And as soon as I got it going,
Yeah.
landlord was like, "We're selling the building."
Yeah, I read that. You lost your lease, or you lost
Yeah, we
your
did.
space.
Yeah.
How much of the stuff from the Hook migrated over to the Bridge with you?
Something, the console.
Yeah.
The console, 2 of our
Beautiful.
pianos, the Hammond, and the Leslie. So like a lot of the big instruments, some of my outboard gear, but
Studer.
the Studer wasn't. The Studer
really?
actually, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, the other tape machine. But I had to acquire a lot. Like half my collection was one of my other partners. Actually, was like split up between 2 other partners. So it's like there are all these gaps, in the collection, let's say, that needs to be at any studio.
Yeah.
So with the gear and just the construction of this place, it was sizable investment.
You had a nice blank canvas to work with when you got there, right? Was that kind of nice to sort of think?
That's one way to look at it. Yes, it was. It kind of looked like a war zone. And I searched for 18 months all over Brooklyn, and I was about to give up. And I found this piece of shit building that had like water coming in the roof, and it had the little X's on it that say, vacant, condemned. And I said, I'll take it.
That's mine.
There was an old bean sprout factory. Yeah. And it's a very large building. And at the time I was sort of taking refuge at another studio, The Garden, with Drew Vogelman and a friend of mine, Ben Kane, who is an amazing mix engineer. I'm sure everybody knows. And I was like, listen, I can't take this whole building. You take half and I'll take the other half. And we were able to secure the entire building.
Wow.
Get full on permits from the city. This is a legit, renovation.
Excellent.
Went through the whole process, and here we are. It took about 2.5 years to build.
Are you happy with it? I mean, it's beautiful. I've seen the pictures. It's like the sound. Is the sound in the pocket the way you want it?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, actually this month we're finally getting to do, you can't see because, it's behind it. We're doing the final touches on the control room. Just a little tweak, just a little audio tweak, and we're silencing the HVAC finally. And so it's like, I think it was Walter Sear that I'm borrowing this quote from, that said of the, like hallowed Sear sound.
Yeah.
If a studio's not growing, it's dying. So that means, a new mic, you're making your flow different, or I'm going to fix this thing and I'm going to do this. So it's like, it's constant. It's a living organism that will grow through the years.
Is that because the technology is changing and you've got to bring that in, or just more people and personalities and styles that got to evolve?
I think it's a good question. And I also think you kind of answered it. I think it's both. You know, I think technology changes.
Yeah.
You also learn different workflows.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to adapt there and be like, oh, this hallway sounds amazing. I need to run some lines into this hallway so I can use it as a reverb.
Been asking you to do that
Nice.
for
Oh,
years.
it's there. There are holes. I just haven't done it. And there's a whole bunch of that, you know. And then there's technology, you know.
Yeah.
But we're keeping the
Mostly old technology.
Yeah, we're keeping the technology, like the one piece of technology that
82 and earlier, basically.
I'm looking for an actual plate reverb put in the hallway. So that's the technology that I'm looking for right now.
So your acquisition of technology is going both into the past and the future. You're gonna go find the old stuff, take what's coming new.
That's right. That's right. Any mixing or in like any, and Ben could speak to this too because he mixes the same way. Any professional studio right now, most of the big ones, they're all hybrid. It's a hybrid setup.
Nice.
I mean, we record to Pro Tools predominantly. We can record to tape machine if we want, but it's using digital and analog and
it's not as important as it used to be. I find myself reaching for outboard gear less and less, and the outboard gear I use is like hard patched to one setting, and it's like I don't even think about it. It's practically like a plugin because you know, if I want my DBX 160X with a certain output, I go to 1. If I want it with louder, I go to 2. I've never touched them.
I wish it was that way for me.
Yeah. You ever go to 11?
So like, you know, like so many of the plugins, especially the UAD and stuff, it just sounds so good. I think, you know, the late great Al Schmidt once said, nobody is listening to your record because of the snare sound.
Interesting.
You know,
interesting.
Except for me.
You got sure, but you know,
it's interesting to say that because when I was listening to Tilted, that's one thing I was hearing a lot is the drum. The sound. Hearing a lot. Anyway,
that was mostly coming from Eric, the drummer.
Yeah,
that was one of the reasons we used him. Is he has a pretty unique ability to change the timbre of his drums, especially the snare drum, like on the fly. Like the first time I mixed a record with him, I was listening back to the drums and I'm like, now I know, but at the time I'm like, I have no idea how he's making these sounds on an acoustic drum kit.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you guys, it's got this papery kind of flashy sound. What is it? Is it a new kind of material or what?
He was putting random things on the snare head at different moments in the song.
Yeah.
So those are like when you hear like a little, like those little explosions.
Yeah.
Those are.
He's doing his own. He's kind of doing his own saturation and his own like low pass filtering, like on his own at the right times.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
In an improvised fashion, and that's because he's one of the best drummers in the world.
Yeah, and then what we do is we accentuate all that stuff too.
Right.
So like when I was mixing Tilted, like I mean, like okay, this is where he's doing that crazy shit on the snare. Yeah. I'm gonna go in and live. I'm gonna accentuate his notes. You know, so like, and that's the job of the engineers basically to, you know, find and accentuate and give that performance like
to draw the listener's ear to certain things at certain times.
Yeah.
To keep them in the song, keep them emotionally connected to what there was.
There you go.
And when you can get that on the way in by the musicians doing it, that just makes our job easier.
Straight up.
Really.
Well, that's one of the things I wanted to ask you a little bit about the musicians that you got together for the Tilted and soundtrack for a non-existent film.
And home.
Had they played together? I mean, before? I mean, you were saying, Amon, that these guys are like having to learn songs from bands like in an afternoon. But had these guys played together? I mean, you've got a couple of standards, sort of.
Not an actual working band, but they'd all play together in certain, you know, together in different configurations. And the rhythm section, Orrin Evans, Daggers Ron Douglas, and Eric McPherson do play together.
Okay.
In other bands, and Donnie's played with them in different configurations, and they all knew each other.
Yeah.
So, you know, there was no like we skipped over getting to know each other. got straight to
No
the
shaking
music.
of hands necessary. Huh?
It's also why I just chose a couple of standards that I knew they knew, you know.
That's what I wanted to ask. Did you just assume they knew one note samba and epistrophe? Did you just come out, or did you?
Absolutely, I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you talked about it before you started. You didn't just like say, "All right, now we're going to start playing."
In case we needed it, but you know, these guys are some of the best musicians in the world, and you know,
They sound
in
it.
our world, yes, everybody knows those two songs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Straight up.
We had a playlist that between Ben and I when we were thinking about the project of other songs.
That's right. I forgot about that.
There is like and I actually had some. I had like Stevie Wonder on there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
So,
which Stevie Wonder did you have on there?
I can't tell you
Wow.
because I might do it. But because, but like, but you know, the most important part about being a producer and engineer is you gotta listen. So like,
Yeah.
Ben was like, we should do these two songs, and I was like, okay, tell me why.
Yeah.
And the reasoning was solid. One, I love Monk. I mean, I came up.
Monk.
We're all huge Monk.
Yeah.
Munch.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a Munch fan as well.
Different thing.
That's
thing.
different.
Although
But-
they should work together. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
A lot of secrets in there.
Yeah, I mean,
We got plans, man. We got plans.
we
All
do.
right. All right. Respect.
You know, I love Monk and
Obviously, you
Carlos
love-
Jobim is, you know, I mean, you know, I knew both of the tunes as well,
Sure.
but like they weren't. If you follow the rest of the Analog Player Society stuff, it does stray a little bit from what we do because the beginning of APS. Little known fact is all the covers that we did, which kind of launched APS, were all from 1985 and 1986.
Yes.
Not the best time for jazz.
Not the best time for jazz, but a renaissance in pop music and like freestyle and that and the whole thing. And that's where it kind of ended. Also, I mean, the golden era of hip hop was upon us.
Yeah.
But it's just a quirky little thing. So like Ben was able to convince me, like, no, let's do this, and it was the right choice.
Well, you know, we had literally 3 hours.
Yeah.
All this music came out of a 1 3-hour session.
There was a timer going.
Yeah.
There was a timer going. This studio ain't cheap, man.
It ain't cheap.
Costs a lot of money. When you're working with the owner, it costs a lot of money to run a studio like this.
Yeah.
So
Aren't
we had
you the owners?
He's got a hookup.
Yeah. It's like a very expensive hotel that you book every day, and it's booked no matter what. If there's somebody in here or not, it's like a really awesome room. Yeah. So
we had to get straight to the music.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that was, to me, it was like songs they knew, people who knew each other, guys who are extremely experienced.
Yeah.
And
total pros.
You know, I think we made the right call and we got what we needed.
I thought it was a beautiful combination. In fact, I was wondering, did you replanning kind of this East-West kind of merge with Monk and Jobim? You know, you got the West Coast groovy sound, you got the Monk's kind of percussion kind of playing, and you got them marrying in this beautiful way.
Well, no. Thank you for pointing that out. I hadn't thought of that at all. I mean, the reason I chose those two songs was because of the way they were written, and I knew we wanted to be able to chop stuff up hip hop style, right?
Yeah.
So, Epistrophe, the Monk tune, is very chromatic, which means it moves a lot in half steps. So, like, I felt like probably that would lend itself to chopping up in some organic way and moving things around, and it still might work.
Nice.
And same thing with the Jobim tune, except the chromaticism there is in the melody. And that was like, oh, let's try that. And, you know, they played each song like 3 or 4 times. You know, I asked Eric to like keep it on the boom bap side, and that's literally all we talked about. And otherwise, they just played some music.
Yeah, Ben actually threw me another like loop because I was like, all right, here's the click track. And he's like, nah. It's like, we don't need to click. I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, we're gonna have to cut this up off of a grid. But again, part of being a producer and engineer is just gotta let it go. You gotta go with the flow. And again, it was a decision where it doesn't seem right at the time, but if you put together, these are jazz musicians, and
Yeah.
a click would really kind of hold them back.
No, there was no way we were using it.
No, it doesn't. It just doesn't work.
All right.
But from my perspective of doing these things before, it had been the way to go. But it
Well,
actually,
we had a backup plan because Melodyne, you can put the track into Melodyne, which is a piece of software, and then you can create a click track that, you know, goes along with the variations of the song. So that was our backup plan, but we didn't need
that was your backup.
That was
plan.
my backup. Well, what was your backup plan?
Nothing.
Goose.
I mean, we didn't need a backup plan,
Yeah.
so it didn't matter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good
so-
players.
We just kind of, you know,
Yeah.
freestyled the tracks. There was no click. No.
My loops, at least for the ones that I did for soundtrack, were no grid. They're no grid. They're just loop based. They're just.
All right.
It's kind of like the way that you used to use either the MPC or, for me, the ASRX. You know, I'm like the Beta Max of the samplers.
You guys were intending to have two pieces of art, Tilted and Soundtrack. You knew you were going to be sampling off the one to make the other. That was the plan.
I had originally wanted to release them in the other order, but you know.
Really? Why is that?
Because I wanted people to hear Soundtrack and get used to that music, and then listen to Tilted later and discover where it all came from.
Got it. Could
like
go back
how-
in time.
Kind of
Go
like how
upriver.
I got into a lot of soul and R&B from hip hop, where, like, you know, in the mid '90s, I lived near the Ashby Flea Market in Berkeley, and I'd go down there and find all these
Hey,
musty old, you know, moldy records, and I'd be finding, like, you know, the Isley Brothers and all that stuff from the '70s. I'd be listening to it and be like, oh, that's that Tribe song, or that's that De La Soul song, you know, that, and, like, you know, I found like Jack McDuff moon rapping, and I was like, oh, there's
Nice.
Scenario, you know, or whatever. Like, that's how I discovered a lot of the samples. We didn't have who sampled app to look that stuff up back then.
Yeah.
you went to the bins.
had to go to the bins and find it randomly, you know. So, like,
Nice.
that was how I wanted people to discover it. But, you know, whatever, they can
Yeah.
still do that on their own if they just control the order.
Nice, nice, interesting. So your vision was to have Soundtrack be the lead
Mhm.
on that.
The purpose of the project was to make that record. And, you know, if we had an ancillary, and I don't want to call it ancillary, if we had, like, you know, a sister record of them, the Cats just playing,
Yeah.
great. And, you know, was pretty sure that was going to happen.
Were you both sitting at the console together, like moving levers and
Oh, for
picking
sure.
samples?
Well, it's funny. It's like for the tracking session, I guess
You were the engineer.
I was the
and
engineer
I was
for-
the producer.
Okay.
yeah, he was the producer. So, like, I was in charge of getting the sounds and capturing it and rolling tape. And then,
And you should hear the roughs. It was incredible.
Got it. Got it.
And then basically, you know, we just took the sessions.
Yeah.
And he had the session and I had the session. We worked. I think
We traded Pro Tools markers.
we did trade markers. So I knew I made it.
Add a second line of markers, Avid.
That would be dope.
Yeah.
So, like,
Okay, fix the bugs first.
More.
he got a chance to sort through the stuff first.
Mm.
And then I got his markers and I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to choose any of his markers. So,
Okay, now,
like,
when you say markers, you mean you chose where to start and
Time-
stop a piece.
Timeline in Pro Tools, like,
Right.
like 2 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that tells you what section you're going to take out.
yeah. So
Got
so Ben took all the easy stuff.
Oh, really?
I just wanted to make a boom
I
bap
know,
record.
I
That's
know,
it.
But it's great. I love it. And because I had it to wait because I was working and just running this place. So I got a chance to then come in and I was like, okay, I'm going to take like a different approach to this. And I chose a ton of outtakes in between the tracks,
Huh.
where they would be noodling. Emac would just he'd never stop playing.
He
Really.
played
Oh,
so much.
hang on. So that's you were picking stuff that didn't make it onto Tilted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, not only, but
Right.
a lot of stuff I was able to get in between the takes. And then
I mean, there's a lot more music than just those 3 songs. That was just
Absolutely.
like, with the things we thought were the best for release. But
true.
they did like 4 takes of each, and then they just messed around. And then the motto of the studio is always rolling.
Yep.
So
Always rolling.
game,
Always rolling. Yeah.
I've like sampled my chair squeaking before.
Oh, well, it's funny you mentioned that.
Nice.
The metal stool that was next to Oron is in my track. What's it called? I think it's like Safe Place or something like that.
Okay.
Or sorry, Act Cool. I think that's the title of it. The basically one of the backbeats is a sound of a metal chair getting hit by like a drink. So it just worked out.
Dance sound.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Well, that's the hip hop aesthetic. Whatever,
Yeah.
as long as it works in your track, it's cool.
So are all the sounds on soundtrack from the recording you did with Tilted, or did you bring in samples, pieces from outside of that?
I didn't bring in any other samples. The only thing that I added was kabasa and
What's that?
and a little synth,
You got a little bit of synth, right?
and a bass synth. Yeah, like
Chase.
I added this tiny little bass synth.
It's pink.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. This is the bomb.
It's
So,
the bomb.
So Chase comes from this little thing.
All right. That added the magic for that one. I was going to ask. Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's just this little knob right there and one note.
I think for me on soundtrack, maybe I added some 808.
Yeah.
Oh, you got T-shirts for him too. Nice.
I added much more than that, and then I think I added a couple more sounds for Home in America, but like the ghostly chorus sound and the choir sound in the chorus.
Yeah.
What I did is I took Oren's piano part from the bridge and I converted it to MIDI in Pro Tools and then ran that through like a Mellotron or something.
That's dope.
So like
How
I took
fun.
Oren's musical idea, but I translated it to a totally different sound and because like I knew like I didn't have a chorus really in Starry Night, which was the track that it came from. And because for me, like I need a song to write to. So like, soundtrack is kind of like a beat reel to me.
Yeah.
And so once I had the chorus, the I Want to Go Home, then I knew it needed something, but it couldn't be piano again because it had, there were pianos on the rest of the track. So
I got
that's
you.
why I used the newly added convert to MIDI feature and then tried a bunch of sounds until I found one that was cool.
Ben's always up on all the Pro Tools, like new toys and stuff like that. I call him to figure out like, what's this thing? What is it? It's
and
like,
I think I sent it straight to a spring reverb or something like that.
okay. Yeah,
like that.
That's good. I like that.
Is there room for you, Amon, to play drums again on the Analog Players Society music in the future?
There is. In fact, I'm working on 2 albums right now. One with I mentioned before we started this with Falu Shah, which Falu she's Indian classical, and we're doing this sort of Blade Runner in Mumbai, very synth based. Like the Juno 60 is all over the album. Like every track has Juno 60 in it.
It's cool. It's so cool.
It's so great. And but simultaneously working on an album with Famo Diabate, and he is a master balafon player from Guinea, West Africa.
Okay.
And I will be composing some arrangements
Nice.
with sort of djembe orchestra to get in there. It's more like it's kind of using like the framework, the loose framework of like trap more rhythmically, and then bringing in some of the mandang and the traditional elements melodically that you're going to hear from West African music.
Wow. And Ben, are you going to play some bass?
Hopefully.
We're going to hear you on any. Yeah.
Yeah. If the song needs it, you know, my whole job as a producer is to make a song that listeners will connect to and stay connected to for an entire song. And if that needs bass, then I will play the bass. If I have Desmond Douglas and he's covered the bass, then it doesn't need more bass.
Yeah.
You know, it just depends, you know. I have a lot of skills that I'm able to draw upon when needed, you know. Yes, I'm sure I will play bass on some analog players.
We've got some other stuff that's cooking up.
Anything more you want to reveal? Stuff that's coming up? And is there any more that you want to reveal about Analog Players Society stuff coming up? Or is it still secret in the vault?
Give me 1 second. Let me see.
What are you gonna do?
I have one thing.
Oh, okay.
I have one thing. I'll give you 10
It
seconds.
strikes me, Ben, I was just thinking that since you guys made Chase, there's no longer a non-existent film. There's a film.
I knew that could be a problem.
Dude, you're busted.
Well, I figured, listen, I put the non-existent film out there because I'm personally into like a lot of soundtrack stuff right now.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you know, both of the Blade Runners have amazing composers. Also,
Yes, they do.
Tenet.
Tenet, yes.
Tenet.
I'm gonna mess up his name, and he's like my favorite composer right now. He's Swedish, and I'm really bad about this.
Okay, yeah, that guy. That guy's super busy.
Can you like edit in that I know his name? Because like that's all I'm listening to is him and Goranson.
You got a computer over your shoulder, look him up. Yeah, I was thinking when I was listening to soundtrack that there were a number of like 80s films that I was seeing it behind, like, you know,
there's also kind of like a pitch reel for us to compose films and stuff.
Ludwig Göransson.
There you go.
Yeah, I was right. He's blowing my world right now. Like he's just like everything he does. I'm like, I always have these people that like I've had these ideas and I'm working on these things, and because there's a lag time in production, like I'll have this idea and then I'll turn on something. I'll be like, damn, that's what I was thinking about. But he had that idea like a year ago because it's out.
You gotta change it up.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm just trying to get there. But I guess I'll give you 10 seconds of
a sample? We're gonna hear a sound sample?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, nice.
Beautiful.
Only a 10 seconds, I guess.
All right.
So while he's getting that up, we are thinking about like another hip hop record.
Yeah.
The same musicians, maybe some different ones. Maybe if we can swing it, do like an entire record or EP with one MC.
Yeah.
Ooh, that would be cool.
We're thinking about it. So, you know, it's mostly a matter of getting some money together to pay people.
Yeah, exactly.
We have the ideas. We just need the bread to implement them.
And we always, I mean, we are session musicians and producers, and got to pay your artists. The artists, you know, like
we're not
up front.
BBs.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, it's an art, but this is how people survive. We are artists. We are musicians. Like, and I don't mind shelling out cash because it comes right back.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if I hand, you know, money to a piano player, that piano player goes out, the money comes right back into the community because they need something else. So it's like, it's very important to keep it going and keeping the economy going, for sure.
Yeah.
So any executive producers out there, hit us up.
I imagine, you know, the more work you produce, the more you're going to have people of quality who want to come in and play with you, you know, and work with you. And you guys are already building up a good, you know, body of work.
Thank you. So I can play you like 10 seconds of this new album that we're working on with Follow.
Yeah, let's hear it.
With another producer, Sean Dixon.
Okay.
Incredible drummer.
He's so
Multi-instrumentalist.
he's ridiculous. He's totally ridiculous. So this is what I got for you.
All right, crank it up. Oh, that sounds Blade Runner for sure.
It's tough.
Nice. Oh, you're having fun. You're having too much fun. That makes the art even more beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you guys, thanks for coming on and talking with me and talking to us about your work and your art.
Sure.
Your project.
Yeah, thank you for finding
A
us.
lot of fun, and I'm thoroughly enjoying. I got Tilted and soundtrack on my phone as I play when I bike ride. I'm listening to them and
Awesome.
Nice.
putting a little bit of the Brooklyn skyline against my Seattle skyline as I'm riding and thinking, and it's got a very urban thing about it, but I love it.
I love that. I know we got to go, but for me, this has always been traveling music. Like
Yes.
when I was mixing and listening to stuff, I would always go on walks in the pandemic. So like, I love that people move and travel, drive, bike,
Mm-hmm.
get on boats, whatever. Like that makes me so happy. That's all I want. That's all I
Oh,
want.
great. I wish, and I wanted to absorb them even more. There's still more I'm discovering as I'm listening, especially as I go back and forth, between Tilted and soundtrack. And more I'm sort of, oh, okay. You took a little piece here. Why that piece? But we could do this for days.
We don't know exactly.
It sounded good. That's why.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again. And hey, just continued success and joy and fun in your production, your art and creation. You guys are doing great and having fun, and I love it. And I'm going to keep my eyes open for more stuff coming out of your beautiful Bridge studio.
Thank you. Come see us sometime, man.
Thanks for helping us.
Yeah, I'll be out there. I love it. I love that New York state of mind.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. Well, thanks for being with us and enjoy the beautiful Friday ahead of you.
All right.
Likewise.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
See ya.